Preparations underway for the reopening of more border checkpoints. The Secretary for Justice reveals that some outdated laws will be amended by the end of the year. And the Philippine president meets Chinese leaders on his visit to Beijing. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. Hong Kong will be able to clear the first phase of quarantine-free border travel with the mainland in 4 days at the earliest. The Immigration Department conducted a drill today at the Lok Ma Chau branch and the Hong Kong-Macau ferry terminal. According to sources, among the 7 ports initially opened, authorities are inclined to use the Lok Ma Chau branch port for the largest quota. Mimosanga reports.
At present, the Lok Ma Chau branch port and the Hong Kong-Macau ferry terminal in Sheung Wan are still closed. The Immigration Department said the drill took place at those 2 ports today, involving almost 300 staff members. The Director of Immigration of Hong Kong, Au Gao Huang, attended the drill. The department said the drill was to test the overall response and assistance capabilities of frontline personnel as they make final preparations for the border reopening. It is reported that more drills and training will be conducted by the police and the customs over the next few days. According to sources, the first stage of reopening involves the Lok Ma Chau branch port, the Hong Kong-Macau ferry terminal, the China-Hong Kong City ferry terminal, and the Meng Kam Tu passenger port. The airport, Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and Shenzhen Bay Port are already operating and will continue to do so. Previously, the government was striving for a daily quota of 50,000, each heading north and south. Lawmaker Dan Ka-bill hoped authorities can waive quota applications for family reunions or for those who have an urgent need to return to the mainland. He said many cross-border families have not been able to see each other over the past few years. Meanwhile, some Shenzhen residents hoped the border crossing process would be smoother for them so they could visit Hong Kong for shopping. While the mainland has yet to resume visa applications for Hong Kong, many residents decided to go anyway. Mimosanga, TVB News.
For the second day in a row, around 16,000 new cases of COVID-19 were reported in the city. They include 16,022 locally acquired infections and 401 imported cases. Residents and staff members in more than 30 care homes for the elderly and the disabled are among the newly infected people. A total of 650 schools reported positive cases. 63 more patients died, bringing the death toll in the 5th wave of the pandemic to 11,868. South Korean authorities said Wednesday they were trying to track down a Chinese national who tested positive for COVID-19 on arrival in Seoul. The individual tested positive after arriving at Incheon International Airport late Tuesday and was transferred to a hotel to await admission to quarantine but went missing. The person could face up to a year in prison or a 10 million won fine if convicted of violating the Infectious Disease Control and Prevention Act. Meanwhile, European Union government health officials will hold talks Wednesday on a coordinated response to a surge in COVID-19 infections in China. And Japan will toughen its border control measures for travelers from China from January the 8th. This as authorities around the world are imposing curbs on travelers from China as COVID cases there surge following the relaxation of zero COVID rules. Secretary for Justice Paul Lam said some 70 ordinances are outdated and the government aims to complete amendments by the end of the year. He also said there will be many national security-related trials this year, which will most likely lead to more malicious attacks. In an article published on Ta Kung Pao, Secretary for Justice Paul Lam wrote that the rule of law can only be maintained in a stable society. He noted that although Hong Kong has entered a new phase, progressing from stability to prosperity, that doesn't mean all risks threatening national security are gone. Instead, Lam said these risks will be more difficult to be noticed from now on, which highlights the importance to improve defensive measures in safeguarding national security. He said the Department of Justice will do its best to fulfill its duties. The Justice Chief stressed 2023 is the crucial year to implement policies that have already been established. He said the goal is to maintain the city's unique feature of being the only common law jurisdiction within China under the one country, two systems principle, but that will also come under attack by some Western countries or hostile forces. Lam wrote that a number of national security-related trials will begin this year, and it would be naive to think that malicious attacks from the West would stop. He thinks it's important to be well prepared and warned residents how these attacks may make them lose confidence in the city's judicial system. Lam said in the second half of the year, the authorities will promote the rule of law and introduce training programs for future leaders on the subject. Lam went on to say that more than 70 laws enacted before the city's return to Chinese rule are out of date or no longer suitable. Among them, 7 ordinances, such as the Crimes Ordinance and the Official Secrets Act, will be amended when Article 23 of the Basic Law is implemented. Overseas, Israel's new far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir briefly visited Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem on Tuesday, prompting fierce condemnation from the Palestinians and several Arab countries. Ben-Gvir said the site known to Jews as Temple Mount is open to everyone, as footage showed him strolling around the periphery of the compound surrounded by security. An Israeli official said the 15-minute walk complied with a so-called status quo arrangement dating back decades, allowing non-Muslims to visit on condition they do not pray. He did not approach the mosque. The visit stoked tensions with Palestinians, while Egypt and United Arab Emirates condemned his actions. Jordan, the custodian of Al-Aqsa, criticized the visit, saying it had violated international law. The United States insists on maintaining the status quo.
So this is the mosque that you're talking about by the National Security Advisor there. Look, so the United States stands firmly, and we've been very clear for preservation of the status quo with respect to the holy sites in Jerusalem. Any unilateral action that jeopardizes the status quo is unacceptable, and we will continue to be steadfast on that and be very clear on that.
Russia has blamed the unauthorized use of mobile phones for the loss of 89 servicemen who were killed during a Ukraine missile attack on New Year's Eve. A Russian Defense Ministry statement said the obvious reason for the loss of lives was the switching on and massive use of mobile phones, which went against regulations. It added that the phones allowed Ukraine to locate the coordinates for the building in Makiivka, in eastern Donetsk, where the soldiers were housed. Russia came under attack from their own lawmakers for stationing troops in a school building right next to a major ammunition dump. Previously, Russia said 63 soldiers were killed, while Ukraine's armed forces put the death toll at around 400. Russia said in retaliation it launched airstrikes near a railway station in Donetsk that killed up to 200 Ukrainian personnel and destroyed 4 HIMARS launchers and more than 800 rockets. In the UK, commuters returning to work Tuesday after the Christmas break were advised not to travel. This as tens of thousands of British rail workers stage a fresh round of strikes that will disrupt services all week. Around half of the UK's railway lines are closed, and only 1/5 of services are running amid a long-running dispute over pay and working conditions. Members of the Rail, Maritime and Transport Union have scheduled strikes for Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday, while drivers in the ASLEF Union will strike on Thursday. Many places, including most of Scotland and Wales, have no train services. Still ahead on tonight's news. In the US, McCarthy defeated 3 times in his bid for House Speaker. a fatal taxi accident in Wong Tai Sin. And legendary Hong Kong composer Joseph Koo dies at age 92. Welcome back to TVB News. For the first time in 100 years, a nominee for U.S. House of Representatives Speaker could not take the gavel on the first vote. But Republican leader Kevin McCarthy vowed on Tuesday to remain in the race for the powerful position. This after hardline members of his party blocked his bid to lead their new majority. Tracy Furness reports.
Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has fallen short in multiple rounds of voting to become Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives. The newly elected Republican majority fell into disarray on the opening day of the new Congress, refusing to elect McCarthy before adjourning for the night.
Are you going to stay in the race, Leader McCarthy? You're not dropping off.
I'm not going anywhere. Last night I was presented the only way to have 218 votes if I provided certain members with certain positions, certain gavels, to take over the church committee, to have certain budgets. And they even came to the position where one, Matt Gaetz, said, I don't care if we go to plurality and we elect Hakeem Jeffries and it hurts the new frontline members not to get reelected. Well, that's not about America.
Needing 218 votes in the full House, McCarthy got just 203 in 2 rounds and fared worse with 202 in round 3. The division in the Republican Party is blamed on the 20 hardliners who want rule changes that would give them greater control over the Speaker and more influence over the party's approach to spending and debt. The chamber's top Democratic House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, beat McCarthy in all 3 votes. In the final tally, Jeffries led McCarthy 212 to 202 votes.
Today, for the first time in 100 years, the House of Representatives failed to organize on opening day. It's a sad day for the House of Representatives as an institution. It's a sad day for democracy. It's a sad day for the American people. House Democrats are unified, ready, willing, and able to get to work on behalf of everyday Americans.
The chamber has adjourned until noon Eastern Time on Wednesday, a move that would give Republicans time to discuss other candidates. The last time the House failed to elect a Speaker on the first ballot was in 1923. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried pleaded not guilty Tuesday to criminal charges that he cheated investors and caused billions of dollars in losses. Appearing in a Manhattan federal court, Bankman-Fried denied charges of illegally diverting huge sums of money from FTX to make lavish real estate purchases. A tentative trial date has been set for October. Daniel Sassoon, a federal prosecutor, said the government has a deep well of evidence against Bankman-Fried, adding that prosecutors will turn over hundreds of thousands of documents to the defense. 2 associates of Bankman-Fried, Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang, have already pleaded guilty. Back locally, a taxi crashed into a truck parked on the roadside in Wong Tai Sin at midnight. The male passenger on board the taxi died. The taxi was wrecked after the driver lost control of the vehicle and hit the truck on Chok Yun Road. The 47-year-old passenger suffered severe injuries to his head and was certified dead in hospital. The taxi driver, who sustained an injury to the forehead, was arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving. He was later released on bail, while a representative of the DAB party in Wong Tai Sin said the area was not a traffic accident black spot. He noted illegal parking involving trucks was quite common. Meanwhile, an organization representing truck drivers said authorities have been neglecting the problem of inadequate parking slots for larger vehicles. As a result, truck drivers who normally get off work at midnight have no choice but to park in places that they think would cause the least disturbance to people. More than a dozen associations in the taxi trade have applied for fare hikes. They want to increase the flagpole fare for urban taxis and New Territories taxis by $5 and $4.50 respectively. This morning, representatives handed in the applications to the Transport Department. They explained that the average age of the city's cabbies is 65, and they're being charged more for insurance on top of rising maintenance and fuel costs. The groups also called on young people to join the industry. This comes about half a year after urban and New Territories taxis adjusted upwards their fares by 12% to 13%, respectively. Two people who identified themselves as transgendered and have not completed relevant surgeries have appealed against the court after authorities refused to change their gender on their identity cards. The appellants, aged 30 and 31, are born women and have been suffering from gender identity disorder. Both have had many treatments or surgeries over the years, but have not completed the entire process, including the removal of their uterus. Earlier, the Immigration Department denied their request to change their genders to male, and later the two have also lost two legal bids to overturn the decision. Thus, they took the matter to the city's top court. But the Defense Counsel argued today that the medical sector has not reached a consensus on determining the gender of transgenders. The ruling has been adjourned. Brazil and the world paid a final tribute to legendary player Pelé, who was buried in his hometown of Santos on Tuesday. Thousands of people lined the streets of the city after his coffin had arrived from Sao Paulo. Pelé died last week, aged 82, from complications stemming from colon cancer. A funeral mass was held at the Vila Belmiro Stadium belonging to his old club Santos FC. The casket was taken into the cemetery as bands played the team's official song and a Roman Catholic hymn, as well as some samba songs that he liked. The funeral was attended by Brazil's newly inaugurated president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Pelé is regarded as one of the greatest players of all time. He won 3 World Cup titles and scored more than 1,000 goals for Santos and New York Cosmos. Legendary Hong Kong composer and former TVB music director Joseph Koo has died in Canada at the age of 92. Koo composed more than 1,000 songs and was the father of cantopop. Mo Sang-ai has more.
Below the Lion Rock is one of Hong Kong's most popular songs of all time. It is the theme of a TV show that shares the same name and talks about the lives of ordinary Hong Kong people. Koo composed the theme song for the show, Enjoy Yourself Tonight, one of the world's longest-running live TV shows. Another famous EYT song, The Good Night Song, was also written by Koo, a former music director for the show. Koo did not just compose music for grown-ups, but also wrote for children. This was the theme song for a children's show in the 1970s and 80s. The TVB news theme was also composed by Koo. Joseph Koo was regarded as the godfather of Hong Kong's music industry, but it was under the influence of his sister, Koo Mei, a singer, that Koo began to learn the piano at the age of 17. In the 1960s, he took part in a Shaw Brothers film composition competition, which launched his music career. Soon, he gained sponsorship from Sir Run Run Shaw himself, allowing him to study in the United States. He returned to Hong Kong and composed music for multiple films before joining TVB as its music director. He composed the lead song for the TV series known as The Bird, which was about gangs in Shanghai and starred Chow Yun-fat. Koo also cooperated with many lyricists. His partnership with James Wong was among the most famous of his collaborations. Both are gifted musicians and combined to write a glorious chapter for the city's music industry. Koo retired in 2015 and returned to Canada, but even in his absence, his legacy remained. Veteran actress Lisa Wang knew Koo for half a century. She described Koo as diligent, asking singers to practice his compositions before recording. She thanked Koo for creating so much wonderful music and training many talented singers. Meanwhile, the chairman of TVB, Thomas Ho, expressed his deepest condolences to Koo's family. Ho said every one of Koo's songs touches the emotions of an audience and helps them form a bond with the TV shows. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, Kevin Yeung, also gave his condolences to the composer's family, praising Koo's song for being everlasting, saying his legacy will be passed down to many future generations. Mimosa Nai, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thanks for watching.